Hello everyone and welcome back to the good stuff. We are continuing with Morphy's simultaneous exhibition, a blindfold simultaneous exhibition that was played in Birmingham, England, and we've already checked out 2 games, but we are now continuing, and Morphy faces none other than John Rhodes. John Rhodes was a member of the Leeds Chess Club, and he was, as it says in his description, a driving force behind the main team in the formation of the original Yorkshire Chess Association, as well as being perhaps the strongest player in the county in those days. And it's as you'll see, his style is very fierce, much like someone else you've known from that era. But without further ado, let's check it out, as this is the 3rd game we'll be checking out from his blindfold simultaneous exhibition. So Morphy, again with the white pieces, opens with e4. We have e5, and now, as the quote above the board says, f4. Morphy again goes for the king's gambit, and now we do not have e captures on f4. John declines the gambit, and he goes for bishop to c5, going for the so-called classical variation, as it offers well, plenty of opportunities for white to go wrong. For example, if white grabs the pawn, it's immediately game over. Queen to h4 check, you're gonna play g3, queen captures on e4, and now it's just game over. You're gonna lose the rook, and that's it. So here, after bishop to c5, Morphy of course just continues development, knight to f3, and here the safest move for black would be a brave decision by Morphy, since black can go for the very active knight captures on e5 here, and Morphy probably thought that this is what the Rhodes was going for, because here, after the knight is accepted, you get queen to h4 check, and now it's a very tricky, so you have to block it with the g3, but now queen captures on e4 with check, you block with the queen captures on h1, but now knight to g6 check, and the white also grabs the rook. Knight e7 blocks check from the queen, and here of course you don't have checkmate because the bishop covers the e7 square, but knight captures on h8, and this is about an equal game, although it seems very weird that you would get an equal game from such madness, but it is. This is a pretty equal 5, but rather the immediate d5 by Mr. Rhodes, just giving up one more pawn for rapid development. Morphy grabs it, e captures on d5, queen captures on d5, and now knight to c3, and now Rhodes just goes back, queen to d. Prevented Morphy from going d4 and creating a very strong center, because now the d4 square is defended. It's very instructive how Morphy does this. He goes knight to e4, pawn that will defend the d4 pawn, and then play d4. So now black has to react to this. Now Morphy will get his massive pawn center. We have bishop to g4, and now d4, just defending that beautiful pawn center, and queen to d attacks the bishop here on g4. And now there are a lot of moves you could play here. You could move, he plays knight captures on e5, and now the position is completely crazy, and try to find the winning move for Morphy while I give you a couple of seconds. So for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations on not accepting the knight, because if you accept the knight, it's just not good for you, and we are going to show it. If d captures on e5, then Rhodes' idea was bishop captures on f2 with check. And now if king captures, you've lost the queen, so you cannot capture the bishop, you have to play king to e2, and after king to e2, now comes queen captures on d1, king captures, and now a nice queenside castle that comes with check. A lot of squares for that king to go to. You have to move the king, and then black just continues the game without being down material, but with better development. So this would actually be good for black. So instead, the move you had to find was queen to e2, just pinning the pinning the attacked piece, and now the knight cannot move because the king is still on e8. So here, queen to e2, it's the only move that wins, and now there really isn't all that much to do here. Queen captures on e5 will come with check, white will win material, and black will have to simply resign. And it's very odd for Morphy to win games being up material, but you know, if his opponent is a crazy attacker, there's just no avoiding it. So bishop captures on f3 was played, g captures on f3, and now queen captures on f3. Rhodes tries to grab at least some material before he loses material, and now queen captures on e5 with check. And now king f8, again with a deadly threat. If rook comes to d8, then Morphy loses the queen, but it's not a problem. Bishop to e2, and now the rook on h1 is defended by the knight, so it's not a problem. Queen back to c6, again with the same threat, but not a problem, just wherever you want. We have rook to e8, and now comes king to d2. Not even castling, keeping the king in the center of the board, and now making room for the last rook to come. Just slowly improving the position. And believe it when I say the best part of the game, knight to g4, going after that f6 pawn, so knight to d5, defending it, f6, making it impossible for the knight to be captured because just queen f3, rook f3 picks up the queen. So after this knight f6, we have rook captures on e3, queen captures, and now again it's not possible to capture because rook f1. The bishop captures on a2, but now it's actually a very, very impressive forced checkmate in 4. So for the last time in this video, pause the video and find the winning move for Morphy. It's a forced checkmate in 4 moves, so while I give you a couple of seconds. So for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations on queen to e8 with check. No doubt all of you found the first move, but the second move is the one that counts. King to g7, and now comes knight to h5 with check. The black king has no choice. He either has to block, and then queen captures, which he just played queen to g5, and this is now checkmate. So third game we've seen Morphy again plays brilliantly. He didn't win all 3 games. He lost the one to keeping that we've shown. Played black, sacrificed a lot of material. He gained a lot of activity, which is not easy when you're playing against Morphy with the white pieces and he plays the King's Gambit. But then he just went a bit too much Mr. Barnes, and Morphy of course was able to but yeah, really impressive stuff. And yeah, we're gonna check out a few more games from this blindfold simultaneous exhibition. I can't stress this enough. This was unheard of in those days, playing 8 opponents blindfold simultaneously. And attempt a 20-player blindfold simultaneous exhibition, and everyone was like, yeah, I mean, sure, of course, why not? But as you can see, but it was a really crazy number. So it is possibly what happens in those games. So yeah, if you find a photo of Mr. John Rose, please do send it to me. It's the game. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I would like to thank George Cathy, Ruslan Gregor, Timo Halm. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you soon. Continuing the coverage of the Morphy saga, checking up on your wonderful suggestions and whatever else happens, and have an excellent rest of your day.